Deputy Lieutenants, my Lord, ladies and gentlemen, it's with great pleasure that I'd like to welcome you here today to the Castle Hill Community Centre. Whilst it is a little cold and dreary outside, it's a very warm atmosphere inside, and it's lovely to see such a brilliant turnout for what is, as I'm sure you'll agree, a very important part of the history of Cupar that we've come here today to celebrate. So I should introduce myself. My name is Anya Armstrong, and I'm the Projects and Administration Officer for Cupar Development Trust. We work very closely with the Three Estates Cupar, so it is my very great pleasure to extend to you all a very, very warm welcome here today on behalf of Three Estates Cupar for their unveiling ceremony today. So if I may, I have a couple of points of housekeeping to address. First of all, I don't believe we have a fire alarm test scheduled today, so should the alarm sound, could I ask you to leave the building by one of the two exits? We have one here, and we shall assemble out of the front of the building. Second point of note is that if you're not familiar with the building, just to let you know, there's some toilets through this door and on the left, and if you should require it, there is a hearing loop fitted in the building. Oh yes, lastly, we have the services of a professional cameraman here today to film proceedings. So if you do not wish to feature in today's film, if you just let myself or the cameraman know, we shall make arrangements to make sure that's followed. And lastly, and very importantly, there's a table of drinks at the end there, so please do help yourself to drinks, and if you're driving, there are some non-alcoholic refreshments available as well. So if I could ask you to charge your glasses, if you've not already done so, because there will be a small toast at the end, that would be very, very kind and much appreciated. So without further ado, I shall now hand the podium over to Bill, our wonderful trumpet player, and the podium party.
Deputy Lieutenants, plural, my Lord, Bishop, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'd like to introduce the podium party, and looking from here, you may have guessed by now that we have a very special guest, whom I'll introduce later on, Sir David Lindsay of the Mount Cupar. I'm next, I'm Bill Pagan, and I'm the chair of Three Estates Cupar. On my left, hiding behind the pillar, is Margaret Robertson, who's one of the Three Estates trustees, but is also an artist, and she chairs Cupar Arts and designed and made the plaque that we're going to unveil today. Next to her is our guest of honour, the Earl of Lindsay, who will explain the Lindsay family connection. On his left is Guthrie Hutton, who is the chair of Cupar Heritage and Museum, but today, more importantly, he's one of our trustees, Three Estates. And on the left, yes, on the left, Sir David tells me that his herald is somewhat ill-disciplined, but I welcome Bill Giles nonetheless. Right, so the first thing I want to do, naturally enough, is to make my speech of welcome. Now, I'll try again. Ladies and gentlemen, my speech of welcome. All right, I won't try again. I'll bin my speech. And instead of my speech, I will interview Sir David Lindsay. This interview results from a torrent of electronic communication. People sending us questions through the ether for me to ask Sir David. I haven't had time to explain to him yet what the internet is, but I don't suppose he really needs to know. All he needs to know is that we've got these questions because people are so interested in him and his presence. So, these are the questions that have been sent in for you, Sir David.
Aye.
So says, Sir David, it says, welcome back to Cupar after 500 years. Did you have a good journey?
Oh, aye, but it took a long time, it took a while.
And you've lived here in the 16th century, and where was your estate?
Oh, aye, out that way, out towards Perth, the Mount. I see the Houghtons have been interfered with at a muckle great tower atop it.
In your day, was there a Dominican priory and a grammar school?
Oh, aye, St Catherine's Priory. It was doing that way. I see they've got a street now. St Catherine's Street.
And what did you see there when you went down before?
Oh, I saw the St James's Church. Aye, I saw that. They were singing loudly as I went past.
I think they had a celebration service this morning, yes. Did you hear what they were singing?
Oh, I did. God save the King. Really loudly.
And you looked after another young king of Scotland, but you didn't have that tune then, did you?
Oh, no, aye. Now, who was that you're talking to? Oh, Jamie. Oh, aye, I did. I did look after him. Aye. Ah, wee Jamie, a future king, the King James V of Scotland. Aye.
And he came to the throne when he was very young, is that right?
Oh, aye, he did. He was 12 years old. Just 12 years old.
And he came to the throne then really young, and you had to look after him all his growing up time.
I did. I was his pal. Ha, he was a right wee beggar, I can tell you. He wasn't good all the time.
Why did he come to the crown so young? Who was his father and what happened?
Oh, his father knew. Let me see what you've drawn off the internet. You're talking about all these different folk. His father.
Aye. All these different folk.
Aye. I tell you, aye, his dad. Now, wait a minute, who are you talking about?
James
Was that?
IV.
Aye, that was his dad.
Yeah. What happened to him?
Oh, was that? Oh, gosh. Oh, that was sad. He was killed at Flodden. A national tragedy. Oh, terrible, terrible. Even to think of it now. Oh, my.
And you were Lord Lion, King of Arms to King James V.
I was, I helped him with all that kind of thing. And I helped him to his coronation. His coronation. I had to organise a new crown for his coronation. I did a new crown of Scotland. And I saw you had a coronation here yourself the other day.
You could say that. The crown you organised, was that the crown that was on the coffin of the late Queen Elizabeth when he went up the Royal Mile in September?
It was, right on time. Well, it was a fair privilege to see it there. It was fair good.
And you were also James V's ambassador, I believe, to the court of King Henry VIII of England.
I tell you, I was glad to get him for that. Oh, and with my heat. See what he did to his wives and loads of his courtiers as well. Oh, I was relieved when I got him for there, I tell you.
But when you came back, you took a lot of risks yourself, didn't you? Because you used to insult the king and his court and his members, didn't you? What did you call that again?
Oh, aye, that's right. Oh, we did a lot of that then. It's called flighting. Oh, yeah. Poked fun at lots and lots of different folk who held high positions, aye.
But you kept your heat.
I kept my heat. I did, aye. I kept my heat.
And then, after you'd done the fighting and you'd written poetry around it, was that when you wrote a very famous play called In Satyre of the Three Estates?
Oh, why? In Satyre of the Three Estates. I poked fun at loads of different folk, particularly bishops. Aye. And folk who were privileged and in positions of power. But I supported the poor. I'll tell you something. You've no done much, nothing's much different these days. I noticed when I came up St Catherine's Street, you've got a food bank. So nothing much changes really, does it?
And your great play was first performed in full on 7th June 1552.
Oh, it was a great day. Great day. It was 6 hours long and it was a great play. Great play. play.
And that was just the play, never mind the drinking in between the acts.
Oh! Well, maybe the less said with that, the better, eh? Aye. But maybe I see you've got some drink here, there might be some drinking after, but who knows? We'll see.
And you have to know, I'm going to confess, Three Estates Cupar has commissioned a new script, so your play, which lasted over 6 hours, now lasts only 2 hours.
2? And you've managed to get it all in? In 2 hours?
Not every word.
Would it be the same drinking and festivities then?
So tell me, Sir David, where was the play first performed?
Why? Right here, on this very spot where we are standing today. This is exactly where it was performed all these years ago.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why we're here today. A round of applause for Sir David Lindsay. Thank you very much. My next pleasant duty is to introduce more fully Margaret Robertson. I've said probably almost enough already about her skills and the fact that she designed the plaque. She's now going to come to the podium, say a few words herself about the plaque, and then introduce our chief guest, Lord Lindsay.
Thank you. I hope you can hear me okay. Just to say a few words, it has been an honour to design a special plaque for Sir David Lindsay of the Mount and his play The Three Estates. Having seen the play performed here outside at Castle Hill in the year 2000, I found it fascinating, much like the man himself. I invented the classic black and white illustration of him with a definite twinkle in his eyes, following the watercolour style of 16th century illustrations. The smaller roundels illustrate the three estates, the clergy, nobility and merchants, using bright colours surrounded by cardinal red, gold, yellow and black, typical of 1552, before the austerity of the impending Reformation. I have tried to convey a wee glimpse of the sumptuous variety and fun of this play through the combination of text and imagery. I hope that the plaque will help to put the Three Estates firmly on Cupar's cultural map and inspire an interest in the old Scots of Sir David Lindsay's literary influence beyond his time. And now I'd like to hand over to Lord Lindsay to say a few words and unveil the plaque.
It will be very few words, but what I really wanted to do more than anything, I think, was thank Bill Payne and draw attention to the fact that Bill has been a man on a mission. I know it's taken more than Bill just to get to where we are today, unveiling this plaque, but Bill, I think if you hadn't driven this, then I think the efforts of others would not somehow have got to the right destination. So I pay a huge tribute, I think, to Bill Payne for driving this and getting to a moment where on the very site where the play was first performed, we now have a plaque. So on that, Bill, do you want me to call something or?
It's my turn now, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm just to wind up the proceedings, I guess, but a few words about the play of the man. Of the Three Estates, aristocracy, clergy, and, well, there's a number of words you can use to describe the third estate, the laity, the common people, or as Margaret Wishabones Margaret has called them on the park the merchants. But Sir David reserved his fiercest criticism for the church. So much so that subsequent observers, many subsequent observers, believe that his influence on the Reformation was greater even than that of John Knox, which is quite a statement. An irony, therefore, that the stern and unforgiving church that emerged after 1560 cracked down so hard on the fun and frivolity of the performing arts that Sir David's great play was kind of kicked into the long grass of obscurity, and there it stayed for a very long time. It was revived at the Edinburgh Festival in 1948 by my not quite namesake, Tyrone Guthrie, and since then has been performed a number of times in a number of venues, not least here in Cupar in the year 2000. It's now recognised as one of Scotland's great theatrical achievements, and therefore its first ever full performance in 1552 must rank as one of the country's great cultural moments, and it happened right here on the Castle Hill in Cupar. Sir David was, as we have heard, a local man from the Mount. He must have stood on this hill, trod the streets of this town. So it would be fitting if the town, its streets, institutions, and perhaps, because drink appears quite often in the text of the play, the pubs, would adopt Sir David as a son of the town and his great play as Cupar's play. This plaque is indeed a splendid start, and with a fair wind, it could be the first of many such reminders. So we're very grateful to Lord Lindsay for giving up his time to unveil it. And also grateful to those who have assisted in the day, Anya Armstrong, the musicians, the pipers and trumpeters, and indeed Simon Bolton for filming all the proceedings. So with all that said, I'd be grateful if you would thank all these good folk in the usual way, and to raise a glass and toast Sir David Lindsay. Thank you very much.
Sir David Lindsay.
That's it, we've had your lot.
The running order, which was circulated among the trustees, has one final line on it. It says, general jollification. Please go and generally jollify.
Can I add just another one, please, Bill?
If you're allowed.
Cupar Museum is opened at 2 o'clock.